will, and they challenge that particular will.
Okay, so I guess I'm thinking of, I guess, don't just say I was thinking of all these different scenarios. So what happens in the second scenario when a person does not have a will?
Right. And we talked a little bit about
Uh-huh.
that, but if someone passes away without a will, they die intestate. That's the name legal that we use. That
Mm-hmm.
means passing away without a will. So when you do that, basically the state of Alabama has laws that tell you how your things are going to be distributed to your heirs. And the state of Alabama also has a succession plan that tells you who your heirs are. So let's
Mm-hmm.
example, you are in a blended marriage. That and what I mean by blended marriage, this is your second marriage. You may have a set of children from your first marriage, and now you have a new wife. You might have new children in that. So if you don't leave a will, the state of Alabama tells you exactly that your wife gets a portion, your children by your prior wife may get a
Mm-hmm.
portion, your other kids may get a portion. So it basically lays out what happens if what happens to your things pursuant to the law. It basically tells you how you're gonna do your stuff. Now I don't like to be told how to
Mm-hmm.
do what I'm gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so I'm gonna make sure I have control
Mm-hmm.
as best as I can, to make it easier for my family. So you want to make sure that you do have one. But the other part of when you pass away without a will,
Mm-hmm.
that's that bonding part. The person who actually opens the estate has to be bondable, and that means that they have to have a credit check. And those things can, cause people not to be able to be over your things. Your spouse may have gone through some financial shakeup
Mm-hmm.
because you passed away, and now their credit may be damaged and they can't get a bond. So you want to make sure that we're all being cognizant that we are going to make a will and we're going to do what we have to do to take care of our families. And I found now with COVID-19,
Mm-hmm.
with the virus that's going on, and everything, that people are actually becoming more aware. We're talking about these things. These are things that we normally wouldn't don't like to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't like talking about when I pass away, or if someone else that I love, what happens when they pass away. Those are things that we try to keep in the closet that we don't like to talk about. But I think with the way that our country is going and things that have occurred, those conversations are opening up. And I'm really happy because we are definitely one law firm that want families to stay together. And most of the time, when we don't tell our family what we want to happen with our things,
Yeah.
it will
Yeah,
divide
the state
our
will tell
family.
you.
Yeah, well, the state will tell you, and then the other part about it is it can become kind of touchy. Family members are not may not be happy,
Mm-hmm.
and so you want to make sure that you lay those things out. So it's always best to do a will. But if something happens, state of Alabama already got it laid out for you.
So I always like to say this too because I always think, of course, you inherit a person's assets,
Uh-huh.
but you also inherit the debts too.
Well, no, you don't inherit this. Basically,
Okay.
the estate, what happens is when you open an estate,
Mm-hmm.
creditors do have an opportunity to file claims
Okay.
against the estate that you open.
Okay.
Now, once they file a claim, of course, they have to file it within a certain time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And if they miss that time frame, that claim can be denied. However, you can, one thing about that, if your loved ones, it's not love so much you're inheriting, it's just according to what needs to be paid. And most of the time, those debts can be negotiated. A lot of times, a lot of companies will basically forgive the debt. Some companies won't. But I will tell you this, make sure that you are familiar with the debts of your loved one if you're close to them. So sometimes we're not that familiar with them, but if you're doing a will, if you know that you have debts, you may want to have something laid out in there. Well, just as a supplement, I have these debts at this point, so your loved ones will know what's going on.
And also, this random just came on top of my head. So, what about student loan debt? Is that how that's handled? You
Well,
know.
student loan debt, if someone passed away with student loan debt, it's just the same if the federal government, which they probably will, if
Mm-hmm.
there's an estate with monies that can pay those debts, the federal government will probably file a claim against that estate. And then those claims will have to be paid if there are funds in the estate to pay them. Now, your personal funds, those are not used. It has to be the funds of the deceased individual. So if you open an estate and your sister had student loan debt, it's not, you don't take it on as your personal debt. It's still your sister's debt. And if she has assets that can take care of those debts, then those assets will have to take care of that debt, not your personal money.
Well, let me think about this and just speak as far as like business owners. If something happens, like a solo person who's a solo entrepreneur with a business with multiple, in cases like that, have you seen?
I have. Most of the time, if you are in business, I always tell you to get you a very good business attorney so that they can know how that's going to be laid out. Now, most people who are solo, or if you are in what we call just a standard sole proprietorship, when you file your taxes, your business is as if it's you.
Yeah.
So it's going to pretty much go the same way as if it was solely owned by you. But if you're in a partnership, in your partnership agreement, you may want to make sure that your partnership agreement actually lays out what happens in the case one of the partners pass away. So you want to make sure those things are carried out, because that could cause a lot of friction in families. Because if you got a sewing business and Susie and Jane were in the sewing business together, but no one else in Jane passes away, but nobody else in Jane's family knows how to sew. So I don't think Jane can then be in that, but it could be something in that partnership agreement where her family could receive a benefit from that business. So I do advise you to make sure that that's a part of your business plan. You want to talk to a business attorney about that.
Okay.
And also a probate attorney as well. We'll love to help you with that too.
All right. So let me give you this.
Do you know what's happening in Birmingham? Find out now with the all-new What's Happening Birmingham app. Download today on Android, iPhone, and iPad for free. Get info on everything you need to know about local news, events, businesses, restaurants, and more. Visit our website, what'shappeningbirmingham.com, follow us on Twitter at HappeningBham, or call us at 205-538-4508. Download the What's Happening Birmingham app today. What's Happening Birmingham, your source for everything Birmingham.